I'm going to do this for no more than 28 minutes. Yeah, just cause there's well, actually 30 minutes. I'll stop in half an hour. It's just such a beautiful day out here, and I've been working on carvings and I've been studying been studying pDAI and Atropa ecosystem, and I've been listening to the whole narrative. And I've been watching Atropa ecosystem from a distance. Actually, from way back when it first launched, I was interested, and I got in and out of pDAI and Atropa and Bear and Treasury Bill. I did have moon bags, and that's what I've come back to. And since I've been restudying pDAI and the PMaker DAO, I'm going to call it imprint, that I think is the Atropa model, somehow integrating the Aave and Compound lending pools and how MakerDAO protocol operates on Ethereum, right? Somehow using that to create a self-regulating, fully permissionless, decentralized stablecoin. Now, I'm not saying that that pDAI is going to be a stablecoin. It's definitely not now, right? It's very volatile. But at least the narrative is interesting to me. And as someone who is now paired, I've been accumulating pDAIs just because I didn't realize it was going to crescendo to where we are right now. But about 2 months ago, when I saw that Pulse Chain had achieved, actually, as of tomorrow, will achieve regulatory and legal certainty. When I knew that, I really started getting back interested in Pulse Chain. And when I started getting back interested in Pulse Chain, I immediately went back to what I know, which is PTGC and UFO and Atropa pDAI Bear. Right, those were the moon bags that I had, plus some Pulse and Pulse X. And so, yeah, so there's a few things about the Atropa ecosystem and the pDAI. Let's just call it the evolution of pDAI and Atropa. And there are a lot of conflicting narratives. But the one that registers for me, and the reason why I'm paying attention, is the stablecoin meta narrative, the mania, stablecoin. I'm like, wow, okay. Why? Well, there's lots of reasons, particularly with, at least right now, a regulatory direction in the US with the Genius Act is not genius, right? It's not. But what it does do, and it's not law, it's in the broken legislative process, right? But what it does do is it sets out a roadmap of what's going to be regulated, what stable coins, particularly those that have anything to do with the payment rails, the off-chain payment system. That's the regulatory certainty, and the direction that I see is anything that is connected to payment is going to be regulated. Basically, how, assuming it becomes law, basically how that act talks about it. But look, the point is that stablecoin business and volume and capital flow is huge. And it's because it's the hunt for yield. It's the hunt for stability without the volatility. Even like, look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin isn't a stable store of value, right? People are putting Bitcoin into treasuries, but it's very volatile still. It's getting less volatile, right? Same thing with Ethereum. But the point is that stable coins and digital stable coins like USDC and USDT and now USDS, which is MakerDAO. Remember I was talking about MakerDAO imprint on Pulse Chain? Yeah. So it's like an imprint label, if anybody knows what that is in the music industry. Like, right? It's right. So the point is that stable coins and the ones that are like dominant are centralized. And the ones that I put up here, like USDX, which is the stable coin associated with the Ouroboros protocol, that's fully on chain. And in the process and built on the Liquidity protocol, but it's an innovation on Liquidity. It's a multi-collateral asset stablecoin. And so it's like, in my mind, pDAI and USDX are the two on-chain, like USDX is stable now. And it's in a nice pair with USDC. And USDX has the potential not to disrupt the market, but to be a market leader in an on-chain yield-bearing stablecoin. Right now, that act that I was talking about talks about the payment rails, and anything that has yield can't be stable. So one thing that might happen eventually, once the regulators catch up and get on chain, right? Because eventually the regulators will get on chain. And as always with innovation, it's a race between the technologists and the innovators and the revolutionaries, right? And so there is something revolutionary about USDX, and there's something revolutionary about pDAI, at least the narrative of pDAI, not the reality, because pDAI is not stable now. But the story is that there's a counter narrative, many of them, but the dominant narrative right now is that there is a path to pDAI at $1, a fully on-chain, permissionless, pulse chain native stablecoin, right? Now, if that happens, that stablecoin, if it's true that is sort of an Atropa ecosystem-based MakerDAO imprint that has like a mycelial advantage and is this integration of the dev work and the Atropa community work. One of the things that I've done, it started with a dialogue, a conversation that I had with Coexistence Steven. Shout out to you and your just decency, I think, and curiosity. Uh, Same with, I think it's that dirty crypto guy who's a great researcher and communicator. And so right now the Atropa, and I'm listening. I listened, like I listen to things, and I'm listening to the vibes. And so pDAI is the most like DeFi revolution narrative I've heard in a long time, which is why I like it. And even if it's just a narrative, at least now true believers, and I listened to the pDAI space yesterday, and who's left there are true believers, and it's that community has extended beyond greed. That community is definitely going for a freedom stablecoin, a stablecoin that is censorship resistant, and in a time where people's privacies and freedoms are being inhibited, that community, the pDAI community, has some community leaders that are committed to this decentralized, permissionless, stable asset that becomes accessible to a lot of people. Now, I have no idea if that's going to happen. I think it'll be a combination of centralized and decentralized forces if it happens. But that community, the pDAI community, where this is like, there's been a huge shakeout. Anybody that didn't believe is gone. Now it's like, right? There are people like me who I didn't know what to believe when I first, bought pDAI. I didn't buy it because I believed it. I bought it because I saw it early and I thought I could, get a few X's, which I did. But, and I don't know enough to be a true believer right now, but from a speculative standpoint, I like it. And it's why I'm pairing my Eros with pDAI. Eros pDAI pair is hot. Eros bear pair is probably hotter for different reasons. Just because bear, like pDAI probably has the upside in a pegging is maybe 175x, which is cool, right? And so if I put in $500 in pDAI and it pegs, that's 175 times 500. I'll take it, right? And then if the narrative is right, I'm not going to sell that. I'm going to hold it. And probably there's narrative, story, hypothesis that there will be triple digit staking income with pDAI. I have no idea, but I like that narrative and the revolutionary zeal of that community. I appreciate, I respect, and I'm listening. And I'm supporting because I think it would be good if there were a non-state actor, a decentralized effort to create let's say Atropa becomes a mycelial version of MakerDAO. Let's say that. And that there's also a community initiative to protect the peg, right? And that there's a belief system, how like that community is talking about is consciousness, belief, mission. I'm like, wow, these guys are serious. They're not messing around. That's to be respected, right? Those are the kinds of distinguished efforts that outperform others where people are passive and apathetic and negative. Like anytime an asset, a community has lost a sense of purpose and it's all about like number go up, it's like, yeah, number go up is critical, but there's got to be something else, because otherwise, like, there's too many number go up assets that, don't recover. Most die. So the centralized stablecoin narrative, which is dominated by big players, and watch a lot of entities, banks, and funds and bond markets, and this is a multi-trillion-dollar search for stability and yield. It's why the regulators want to control it, right? So pDAI can peg for sure. My question is how and when, and beyond that. I mean, I say that it can only because why not? If the right forces are at work, and that's the intent, and it's being stress tested. Now, one of the things that I heard, I didn't know this, right? Because I watched this drama unfold, like in that community, and I'm an insider outsider in a lot of communities. I sort of come and learn, and I'm an artist, right? I'm a I like to I'm a freedom maxi, right? I like to be free and to take responsibility for my own actions and those who I can directly influence through what I'm sharing. In this case, like what I'm learning, education. Mm. So yeah, so one of the things that at least the narrative, the way that that community has understood what happened between Maria, James Osborne, the Atropa dev, and I'm sure people project a lot of things onto him, and I'm sure that, his style, which is, I don't know how to describe it. I would say covert. It's right. It's not anonymous. It's covert, and it's in the shadows. And, I can't really see enough to understand it. But I do see how people that are studying him and the ecosystem that he's building with his team, I see how people who are really studying it are understanding it, and how they understand what happened with the extraction of value, from the Atropa ecosystem. Um, how they understand it is that it was a stress test. It was one of the tests that the narrative goes, Maria, James Osborne, Atropa, the MakerDAO imprint label on Pulse Chain. And if there's a connection with Richard Hart's team, whether or not it's him or the team that are coordinating or not, the narrative in the Atropa community is that that was a stress test. The counter narrative is, and this is where people target people as a scammer. The counter narrative is that that's a scammer move, extraction of value. It's a scam. And so people left, and people sold, and people, dissed, and they left. The dominant narrative right now, and this is why a lot of these strategy for these sort of communities is shake them out, shake them out, get the true believers. Like, I don't really like that attitude or that approach. I think it's counter to longevity, and belief, but that's okay. It is what it is. I don't have to like everything. I have accepted it, and I understand when it's happening too. It's why I look at who's selling at the bottom, and I look at who's dissing who at the bottom, and I also look like who's bull posting, at the tops, right? Because we can tell a lot about how not just the devs and the builders, but if you watch developers and builders, how they communicate, there's a lot we can learn about the bottoms and the tops, and a lot that we investor users can learn about, like market makers and the people that have ownership interest in coins and ecosystems and blockchains, right? So that narrative was and is that what happened was a stress test, is part of like shaking the system to get it ready for what they say is coming. And in the pDAI narrative, there are these entities, it's probably humans, and they have wallets and they have actions. They're called the pioneers, the pDAI pioneers. And I don't know exactly what the pioneer role is, but I can imagine it, right? The narrative is they're the pioneers to this process of bringing pDAI to a stable-ish thing. And I think one of the things I want to say is that there are no stable coins exactly, right? Because they trade and they go above and below. The real question is how close, and until right now it's $1 of value because the dollar is still the dominant asset that everybody pairs with, and not that it will forever be, but for a while. And this is where USDX and I think the pDAI idea, they're very different, totally different structures to get to a stable asset that actually has the ability to be fully on chain. That's why I like USDX. And I'm hoping it never touches the payment rails. Other things can touch payment rails. I'm hoping that USDX and this stablecoin as service, what I love about it is that it gives any small or mid cap asset, eventually, once it scales into itself, it grows, there is this idea of stablecoin as service, right? That's the scaling idea, as I understand it, of Ouroboros and USDX. And we're not there yet, but we're on the path. And what I like about it is that there is a fully on-chain system that we can see into and audit and understand and learn to rely on and utilize. That's what I love about USDX. And it also has a, right now it's a off-chain DAO, but eventually there is on the roadmap movement towards a fully on-chain governance structure to support the decentralized growth and evolution of Ouroboros and the USDX ecosystem, right? And it's fully on chain. I hope it stays away from the payment rails, because the payment rails are the thing that, in my humble opinion, I'm not your lawyer, I'm my lawyer, and as a regulatory, I would say, student and analyst, I do believe that those are going to be the targets. Anybody that messes with centralized finance payment rails is going to be, and it's fine. It's just like that's what happens. But I do want on-chain alternatives, right? On-chain alternatives that also connect with privacy technologies. Like there's no reason why we can't screen for fraud and deceit and misuse of on-chain funds. It's probably easier to identify that than like the use of like fiat, like either dollars or yen or whatever you got. Like, you know, like that's easy to launder, I think. And it's why, you know, so anyway, I don't want to go there. But okay, so pDAI is amazing as a narrative. And as a right now, that community, props to you all, because I listened in yesterday and I can I know that community has been through a lot of negativity, a lot of volatility, and so those who are still there like really believe that pDAI can be a world-changing currency. I'm like, wow, they really believe that. And so belief is powerful. Consciousness is powerful. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's still powerful. I like it, and it's why I'm investing it. I'm investing a little money and now time in studying it, right? And I'm participating in it through what I'm already doing between Titanx and Eros and uh, and my interest in stablecoins. Like when I heard the possibility, now I'm holding pDAI as a speculative asset, right? I'm holding it. I'm going to finish this in 2 minutes or in 3 minutes. I'm holding it. I have zero interest in selling it, honestly, just because I didn't put that much into it, and I'm going to hold it as a speculative asset. And if it pegs, it's probably a 200x from where I bought it, right? That sounds pretty good. And I suspect, and then it becomes a stable asset that I can use to generate yield, passive income machine. That's like a no-brainer. Now, if it doesn't happen, if it doesn't become a stable coin, okay, it doesn't. At least I'm participating in this bull market. At least I am part of the exponential growth narrative that is happening, right? Pulse Chain and pDAI and Bear are front running the bull run, the altcoin rally, right? And what we're doing with Eros and reviving Build on Titanx tokens is also front running it. It's all going together on Pulse Chain. And so for me, yeah, I'm psyched. I'm psyched. And I'm having fun again, right? Even though the market's bottomed out, even though, right, I'm doing what I love to do, which is carving it, right? And now I'm getting to share my study. What I like to do is research and study and learn and ask questions and listen, and I like to collaborate. And what I'm learning about DeFi is that there are these private groups and private cabals and private spaces that are, I think, required for humans to collaborate. And it creates insider groups and outsider groups, and that's not healthy for what these networks are aspiring to around community. If like like decentralized finance, I haven't seen one true community, honestly, a true community, a full community, a diverse. I haven't seen one. I have seen like alliances that tend to form and die, around price performance. I have seen aligned interest groups. I have seen investment strategies, but full communities, like, so when they do sustain, they need to be respected. And it's not sustaining through like VC capital and paying people off and paying influencers. That's not how one sustains a community initiative. It gets sustained by aligned values and interest, which is why I'm sort of stunned by the level of belief that exists in pDAI and the level of belief that exists in Ouroboros. Peace out, y'all. I gotta go. I'm gonna come back later. I'm gonna go carve. I have very important carving to do. I'm carving right now. Let me just show since I'm about to go do it. All right. This is what I'm working on now. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I'm a humble artist. I am. I don't think this is like not really fully me. It's me and the wood and my pups and nature and right. I'm carving it for sure. This is Ouroboros, man. This is the Ouroboros totem, and this is the Titanx totem, and Eros is right here at the bottom. This is proof positive that Eros is part of the revival of Titanx. No matter what anyone says, it is. Peace out. pDAI to the moon. A Tropa mycelial ecosystem. What a trip. Stablecoin mania. It's real. And USDX on-chain is about to explode. And ORX is, for me, the number one fee-sharing token to own because of the ethos that has been built into the protocol and the investor group, and yes, the community. That is a community there. It's partially because it's sustained itself for over a year so far, and it's really positive and constructive, and there's a combination of strategy and fun and dialogue, and there's enough diverse voices there that it's not like groupthink. So peace out, y'all.